What is going on, everyone? I'm That Guy Matt, and welcome back to my 28 Days review series. Of course, now we're going to be tackling the sequel 28 Weeks Later. So when it comes to talking about 28 Weeks Later, this is a film that is kind of hit or miss amongst the fan base. A lot of people love it, and a lot of people don't like it. And I'm someone who has always appreciated this movie, though I do find it to be inferior in some ways to the original, while also doing a lot of things that actually do improve it over the first one. It's kind of a mixed bag for me, so let's go ahead and talk about it. It's now been 28 weeks since the initial outbreak, and a lot of the infected have simply started to die off due to dehydration, starvation, or just simply their bodily functions shutting down. Because, as we established in the first movie, these are not zombies in the typical fashion where they can live for years upon years upon years. The infected are basically still human, they just have a virus inside of them, so eventually their nervous system and their bodily functions just start shutting down because they're not getting the proper nutrients. A lot of the citizens of the UK have slowly started to return to their home. You have the US military who've come in to basically clean up and try to repopulate the area and try to, make sure that it's all clean and sanitized and whatnot. Unfortunately, there actually is one infected that makes it into the city, and as a result, the entire infection basically starts all over again as we follow a new group of survivors who try to take refuge and make it out of the situation. The opening of 28 Weeks Later may be one of my favorite openings to any horror film ever. When I first saw this movie, it made my heart beat like a fucking drum. It was so intense. Of course, we have a couple here, Don and his wife, who are taking refuge in this little cottage with this family and a couple other survivors, and they're just simply making dinner, they're grabbing some chocolates and whatnot, and they're trying to just kind of basically survive the outbreak as best as they can for as long as they can with limited food and whatnot. You have this child who comes through, and the child asks to come inside the house, and of course they let him. However, Don is a bit skeptical, and this actually will foreshadow his decisions a little bit later on. Needless to say, the infected eventually show up to the house, they break in, the survivors get bitten, and so Don, the child, and the mom have to go upstairs and take refuge away from the zombies. The zombies break it into the bedroom, with Don being on one side of the bedroom and the wife and the child being in the other side. And so when the zombies start coming for Don, he basically kicks it into survival mode and leaves behind his wife and child. I know a lot of people have said that this makes Don seem like an asshole, that he's basically only caring about himself. And while I do agree that it might make him seem like an asshole, you have to remember that it's easy for us to sit back and just armchair quarterback the situation where oh, I would have gone back for my family, but in that situation, it's kind of hard not to let your survival instincts kick in and just survive and run away, because Don basically had no weaponry, and he was what was he gonna do? Just punch the infected? I don't know. In this particular situation, I feel like he just did what he had to do to get away, and the mother was being more caring, whereas Don was being a bit more skeptical, and I think that works for both of those characters. Of course, Don runs away from the infected, and this is a very intense scene with all the infected behind him running just as fast as he is. The score, of course, In a House in a Heartbeat, combined with the gore and the veracity of the infected, it just kicks this movie off with a fucking punch, and I love it. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie is not as strong as the opening, and that's kind of a damn shame. That said, however, I still enjoy the movie for what it is. I think the one thing about this movie is that it definitely feels more Hollywoodized, if that makes sense. Not only is it shot on a better camera and has a better quality, and it doesn't contain the grimy and fuzzy film that the first film had, I think that the film just feels a lot more Hollywoodized, and it feels a lot more action-packed than the first movie. Now, the first film had its action sequences, don't get me wrong. There still are a couple of sequences that are scary, but overall, it's a film that definitely leans more into the action sequences. I mean, for fuck's sake, you have this guy who's driving a helicopter, and he uses the fucking blades to chop up the infected, as if this is some type of video game. It's over the top, sure, but it is entertaining. Now for some other positives. Of course, I have to mention that the brother and sister dynamic, I think, actually is one of the strongest parts about this movie. I like the idea of the sibling angle. I just think it adds a lot more to the movie, and it definitely puts a lot more at stake, especially because I believe the brother in this movie, he actually also is asymptomatic, so they want to take him into refuge somewhere so they can actually potentially make a cure from his blood or something like that. So it makes me more invested in their survival as a result. Yeah, overall the movie is pretty good. Like I said, I think that the movie peaks with the opening sequence, but for what it is, it's not a bad movie. I just think that it kind of loses some of the charm that the first movie had. Say what you will about the quality of the first movie, whether it looks a bit low budget or a bit indie, I think it just had a lot more charm to it, and it definitely felt more unique compared to the sequel, which feels a bit more Hollywood and standard. With all that said though, I still think that 28 Weeks Later is a movie that's worth checking out. So with all that said guys, this has been That Guy Matt. Thank you guys for watching my review of 28 Weeks Later. Later. I will be reviewing and talking about 28 Years Later in anticipation for this, so give it another day or two and I'll post that review. But I would like to hear your guys' thoughts about 28 Weeks Later in the meantime. Do you guys like it? Do you hate it? Do you love it more than the original? I'd be curious to know. Thank you all for watching. This has been That Guy Matt, and as always, I will see you guys in my next video. And until next time, I hope you all take care.